Good to hear that one again. Big hit back in the 1970s for Dean Friedman. That was called Lucky Stars. And it just so happens that Dean is with us this afternoon in the studio. Thanks for coming along to see us this afternoon.
Well, thanks for having me.
Because you're going to be gigging in London, aren't you, quite soon?
That's true. Well, I'm Harpenden Public Halls tonight, then tomorrow night down in Bilsington at the White Horse, but then Friday and Saturday night this weekend.
I'm not sure where Bilsington is.
It's kind of south. But Friday and Saturday night, the 26th and 27th of May, this weekend coming up, I'll be at the Pheasantry, which is part of the Pizza Express chain in Chelsea, in London, and looking forward to it, doing 2 nights there, and it's always a fun gig.
You've been there before?
Yeah, and great piano, nice venue to play in, a good sound system. That's half the battle if you can actually hear yourself singing.
Yeah,
it makes a big difference.
Is it just you and the guitar?
For this tour, sometimes I travel with the band. This time it's me, guitar, and I pick up a keyboard wherever I'm playing.
Okay.
Just sing a bunch of songs and talk a little bit about the songs and what inspired them and how they came to be.
Because you're resident in the States, aren't you?
I live upstate New York, about an hour north of New York City.
So do you do many of these UK tours?
About once a year. I come over here and I spend maybe 10 weeks out of the year tooling up and down the countryside.
And you drive yourself now. You say with the sat-nav, you're confident enough to drive on the wrong side of the road, of course, for you in the UK.
Well, you know what? I was reluctant for many years, but one day I just decided to get behind the wheel. And my strategy starting out was that I would just follow whoever was in front of me. I figured they live in the country. They must know where they're going. And
they might be going to a different place to you, of course.
No, but usually at least I was staying on the right side of the road or the left side of the road.
Oh, yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah. At least you can follow. Yeah, you'd be on the right side of the road, which is the left side of the road, because in the UK we're on the left, and in the States you're on the right. Let's quickly go back to that song we just heard, which was Lucky Stars. Now, that was the big hit in the UK. Whatever happened to Denise Marcer? Do you still meet up with her at all?
Oh,
because partly because of her, I guess, that the song was so successful. She's quite an integral part of the song.
We exchange emails, once or twice a year. She's still performing and writing. She's a really fine songwriter in her own right, and she still makes music and does gigs, and you can find her on the internet. Just search for her website, I met Denise when she sang in a recording studio that I was working at, and her voice filled the room. When I wrote Lucky Stars, I thought, well, I bet she can do a decent job of it. And indeed she did. Yeah.
But the interesting thing about what was happening with you at that time was that was the big hit for you in the UK, wasn't it, Lucky Stars? But on the other side of the water, it was a different song that took off. It was a song which I think it's mentioned here on Wikipedia. I don't know if it's true. It's the only song that contains in the lyrics the name of this place, Paramus. Is that true?
Indeed, absolutely.
This is the only song that ever made the Billboard. I'm reading off Wikipedia here. The only song that ever made the Billboard Top 40, which contained the word Paramus, which is a place in New Jersey, yeah?
That's right. Well, that's where I grew up. That was where I was born and raised, Paramus, New Jersey. And the name comes from the Native American Indian tribe that lived there, the Lenape Indians. And I was always told that it means land of the wild turkey. So apparently it was fertile hunting grounds and a good place to grow up and start writing songs and making music.
Yeah. I take it you were writing songs and performing before you started to have those hits, were you?
Oh, yeah, I wrote my first song when I was 9. It was called I'd Love to Take a Swim with You in the Summertime, and I haven't stopped since then. I just keep writing. And,
so you're still a prolific songwriter. You're writing all the time, are you?
Well, I don't write all the time. I write in batches.
Yep.
A year or two could go by where I don't do anything but maybe write some sketches, but then at some point I'll gather all those sketches together and sit down and start crafting a bunch of songs, and eventually an album comes out.
And you've got an album coming out, is it next month or the month after?
Yeah, but I got some copies here that I'm able to sell at gigs, and so it's a kind of early pre-release to folks that come to the shows. The album is called 12 Songs. I guess I don't have to tell you how many tracks are on it. It's 12 brand new original songs and recordings, and I'm real proud of it. I worked hard on it, and I think it's going to be familiar to fans because it's another eclectic Dean Friedman album. It's got a whole myriad of styles, from rock to jazz to pop, folk, country, you name it, and also a variety of themes, from your good old love song to songs about success and failure, dissertation on time and space, and a song about the Easter Rising, which was commemorated the 100th anniversary of last year. But not so much about that, but about...
in Ireland?
In Ireland, right.
Do you have an Irish background?
I'm sure I do somewhere. I never examined it, but I've always enjoyed touring there. But when I had noticed friends posting about it, I just did a little reading and discovered a story about a gamekeeper in Dublin in a park called St. Stephen's Green, who called a ceasefire so that he could feed his ducks every afternoon for the whole week of the Easter Rising. So the song is really not about revolution. It's really about a bunch of ducks.
Okay.
And I think the kernel of decency that everybody has to try to be peaceful and protect the innocent, even if they're covered with feathers. There's also a song about the brave young woman, Malala Yousafzai, who survived an assassination attempt by the Taliban, and who has become, leading defender of the right of girls to get an education. It just kind of it celebrates her amazing, invincible spirit.
I noticed you brought your guitar along with you this afternoon, so I assume you might be giving us a song or two, yeah?
I have indeed, and I'd be pleased to whenever you like. Sure.
Okay, well let's have one right now, shall we? Whatever you've got lined up there.
Well, this is another new tune from the new album, 12 songs, and it is actually about my guitar. Not this one, but my original Martin D35, which after 4 decades on the road got a little too banged up to bring out again, and it was looking kind of fragile, so I finally had to retire it. But I miss it, and so I wrote this song about it. This guitar can't hold a tune no more. The body is so badly cracked, be impossible to restore. The bridge is warped, the frets are dull, the tuning pegs don't work at all. It doesn't play the way it did before. This guitar can't hold a tune no more. This guitar can't hold a tune no more. It's looking old and battered, just like this troubadour. Neck is bent, the saddle's worn, it's full of dents, the strap is torn. Been with me every city on this tour. This guitar can't hold a tune no more. It drew me to these city lights, showered me with sweet delights. Spent lonely nights stretched out on the floor, playing till my fingers were sore. This guitar can't hold a tune no more. This guitar can't hold a tune no more. All the frets are buzzing now, too loudly to ignore. The strings keep slipping out of tune, it's gonna fall to pieces soon. Might be good for just one last encore. This guitar can't hold a tune no more.
Thank you very much indeed. Yes. We have an audience. Yes, my boss Paul is here. So we have an audience, a small one, a small select audience in the studio this afternoon. So that is one of the tracks from the new album, is it?
That's true, yeah.
And there's another 11 tracks. I've worked that one out.
Indeed, yes. I thought about adding an extra one just to mess with people's minds, but it's 12 tracks of the album. It's called 12 Songs, and it's actually available to order right now on my website, which is deanfriedman.com. And actually, my whole tour itinerary is on that, because I'm touring now through the end of August, where I wind up at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival. But even these,
because you've done the Fringe several times, haven't you? Obviously, you enjoy that.
Oh, this will be my 14th year at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival. It's always a great time to be, a great place to be in August. I always look forward to it. It's just besieged by performers and artists of every ilk. So it's nice to be in a town like that where there's all that creative buzz and risk taking, for your art, and that's always fulfilling. But as I say, the tour dates for all these gigs coming up all over the UK are all on my website, which is deanfriedman.com, where you can also order tickets for these upcoming gigs, including these London dates that are this weekend, Friday and Saturday.
So how much from the new album shall we be hearing at the concert? All of it, or just selected?
Oh, no,
tracks,
I do all the early familiar radio hits and fan favorites from over the years, and I do maybe 4 or 5 of the new tunes throughout the show, just to give people a taste of what to expect, and it's gotten really positive feedback so far, so I'm grateful for that.
Because you've been around, dare I say it, 40 years, haven't you, as a recording artist? Do you know how many albums you've actually recorded over that period?
Well, this will be my 8th studio album, and I've got some live albums out and a couple of compilation albums. But this is my 8th studio album. It's my first in 7 years. The last one was Submarine Races. It had been a while, and I just was determined to get back in the studio and record some new music. And it was something that I worked hard on. I'm real proud of the results, and I'm eager for folks to get a chance to listen to.
Do you give us an idea of the sort of cross-section of people who tend to come to your concert? Is it mainly people who remember you from the 70s, or have you picked up lots of fans in between then and now?
Well, my audiences have always really run the gamut. I've always had very broad demographics. So, a lot of original fans that started out with me when I started recording and releasing records in the late 70s. But, I've been touring here for many years, and, there are always new folks discovering what I do, and also kids and even grandkids are coming to
it's
the
great,
gigs.
isn't it, when that happens, people
Absolutely.
who don't remember you from your heyday back in the 70s, that
Sure.
they're still coming along, and the new supporters coming along as well. Fantastic. You're going to give us another song, aren't you, now?
I thought I'd do something from my second album, Well, we'll say The Rocking Chair, and it's... Actually, on second thought, as I tune my guitar furiously, I'm going to do something from my Squirrels in the Attic album. It's a song that I wrote. Here's the thing. Musicians always have a hard time answering the question, what do you do for a living? Because even on those rare occasions musicians make a living, we always do other stuff. I design video games and I build strange musical instruments. So it's always a tough question to answer, what do you do for a living? It's especially awkward when my wife asks me, what do I do for a living? And so for her benefit, I figured she deserved a decent response, and so I wrote this song. Everybody wonders, just what is it that I do? They scratch their heads and speculate, but they don't have a clue. And I may seem unemployed, that's not exactly true. I do some part-time work, but honey, my main job is loving you. It's my job to make you happy. It's my job to make you smile. It's my job to take you in my arms and hold you for a while. It's my job to make you feel good, and I'm never gonna stop. Well, it's my job to love you, honey, and I love my job. Well, I went to my accountant to do my taxes like you do. When he asked my occupation, I filled in loving you. Well, I'm suited to my vocation, just like good old Captain Kirk. And I never will retire, 'cause I'm addicted to my work. It's my job to make you happy. It's my job to make you smile. It's my job to take you in my arms and hold you for a while. It's my job to protect you from the littlest raindrop. Well, it's my job to love you, honey, and I love my job.
I'm sure that your wife must have been well impressed when you wrote that song for her.
It works.
She must have been a very happy lady, I would have thought. I noticed here that something else slightly quirky. You mentioned just now, by the way, that you make strange musical instruments?
I do indeed, yes.
Give us an idea.
Well, in the early 90s, I was commissioned to design basically a musical playground for a children's museum here in England, up in Halifax. And I created the music atrium, and it consists of a half dozen very strange and odd and whimsical musical instruments, including something called a booble, which is a 3-foot globe covered in rubber bicycle horns, each of which makes a noise when you squeeze it, or a honkblat, 3 giant golden horns that are connected to spring-loaded pneumatic stools that when you sit on make a really loud noise.
Are these on YouTube? Is the sort of thing you get on YouTube, which will get 1 million hits? You know, these.
Oh yeah, actually they're on YouTube,
Yeah.
and you can find them through my website, deanfriedman.com. They're in the cool stuff section.
Okay.
And after building these for this children's museum in England, they became a hit. I started selling them and manufacturing them and shipping them all over the world. So there are boobles and honkblats and boingy-boings and jingle-linga-lilies on almost every continent.
I love to look them up. The other thing I spotted on here, and that's something else quite quirky. You were responsible for a publication called "The Complete Guide to Synthesizers, Sequencers, and Drum Machines." So that's quite a title, isn't it, for a book?
Well, it's true, and it was actually the first consumer guide for synthesizers that was ever published.
Yeah.
This was back in 1985, right after MIDI came into being, and it really caused an explosion in electronic keyboards.
This is a whole new subject, isn't it? We could talk about this as well. But
oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I've done videos for it that actually went viral just about a year ago when someone from Norway published a videotape that I had done 30 years ago. And the thing is, that's kind of interesting to me is that even though the technology has evolved and microprocessors have increased in power and reduced in size, the physics of sound has not changed one iota. And so all the things that I talk about in this Intro to Synthesis video, which are on YouTube, remain the same.
Yeah.
And so, in fact, more people have seen my synthesizer videos than some of my music videos, oddly enough.
We'll have to get you back for another. Are you into synthesizers? Are you this is Paul I'm talking at now. Who's the
Yeah,
boss?
sorry, did you want me to go on the microphone? Yeah, I'm a big fan actually. Yeah, especially the old ones because I was growing up in school. I was a teenager. I had a Casio VL tone which came out in the 80s, and I had a musical career which never really got going.
So
but
you're a bit of a synthesizer groupie, shall we call you?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So you got at least one big fan there.
There you go.
Dean, thanks ever so much for coming in to see us today. It's been fantastic. Tell us again about the gigs, where they are for.
Well, tonight I'm in Harpender Public Hall in Harpenden, not too far. Then tomorrow night I shoot down south to Bilsington, where I'm playing a lovely little music pub called the White Horse. And then Friday and Saturday, this coming Friday and Saturday, the 26th and 27th of May, I will be in London at the Pheasantry, and that's part of the Pizza Express chain in Chelsea. Tickets are available on my website, deanfriedman.com. Took me weeks to come up with that URL. But just your listeners are invited to visit my website, send me an email. You'll get on the email list. I'll keep in touch, let you know next time I'm in your neck of the woods.
Thank you very much indeed for coming in to see us. I hope that your sat nav works. Where are you off to now? Immediately
I'm
following?
off to the gig, yeah.
Oh, you're going straight to the gig. Well, good luck with the sat nav, and thank you very much for coming in to see us today.
Thanks for having me, Keith. I appreciate it.